The day my daughter refused to delete that video, she signed her own death warrant. At least, that's what the boy holding her by the throat in that abandoned bathroom believed. The September heat in Phoenix could melt asphalt, but inside Westfield High's air-conditioned halls, Madison Holloway felt a different kind of heat pressing against her spine. She'd been feeling it for 3 days now, ever since Bryce Kellerman discovered she had something on her phone that could destroy his perfect life. "You know what's funny about secrets?" Sophia Martinez whispered as they walked past Bryce's crew near the trophy case. The football players weren't looking at them, not directly, but Maddie could feel their awareness like static electricity before a storm. They're only powerful when someone's afraid of them. Maddie shifted her backpack higher, the weight of her phone suddenly feeling like a brick in her pocket. Yeah, well, sometimes being afraid is just being smart. The video had been an accident. Her mother's paranoia living on through a motion detection app 2 years after the car accident that killed her. Rebecca Holloway had been Phoenix's toughest prosecutor, the kind who got death threats in her mailbox and still showed up to court with her chin high. She'd installed security apps on Maddie's phone like other mothers left notes in lunchboxes, little reminders that danger was always closer than you thought. And last Tuesday, cutting through the senior parking lot to make it to AP Chemistry on time, that app had captured 47 seconds that changed everything. "He's watching you again," Sophia muttered, her fingers flying across her phone screen. The girl was a wizard with technology. Could hack into deleted Snapchats and buried Instagram DMs like she was born speaking code. Third period, northwest stairwell. That's where they've been meeting. "Let them meet." Maddie kept her voice steady, but her hands were shaking as she spun her combination lock. The metal felt cold under her fingers. "I already sent copies to—" The slam happened so fast she didn't see it coming. Her face met the locker door with enough force to make her teeth rattle. When she turned, Kayla Morrison was standing there, Bryce's girlfriend, all 5'9" of blonde fury and designer rage. "Oops," Kayla said, her voice dripping fake sweetness. "Didn't see you there." The hallway had gone quiet. That particular kind of high school quiet, where everyone pretends they're not watching while absolutely watching every second. Maddie tasted blood where she'd bitten her tongue. "Careful, Kayla," Maddie said, dabbing at her lip. "Your boyfriend's paranoia is showing." The cheerleader's perfect face twisted. "You have no idea what you're messing with. Some families in this town, they don't just sue. They bury people, like my mom." The words came out before Maddie could stop them. "Is that what you mean?" The silence got heavier. Even Kayla stepped back, because everyone knew how Rebecca Holloway died. The official report said accident, rainy night. Truck ran a red light. But everyone also knew she'd been investigating a pharmaceutical distribution ring the week before. The kind that led back to respectable companies with lobbying budgets and lawyers on retainer. "Your mom was stupid," Kayla whispered. "Don't be like her." Sophia grabbed Maddie's arm before she could lunge forward. "She's not worth it. Save it for what matters." But as they walked away, Maddie heard Kayla on her phone. "Yeah, she's not backing down. You need to handle this, today." The thing about having a SWAT team leader for a father is that you learn to read situations like terrain maps. Jake Holloway had taught his daughter to identify exits, assess threats, trust her instincts. But he had also taught her that the most dangerous moment is when you think you're safe. Second period. World history. Mr. Chen droning on about the fall of Rome while Maddie stared at her phone under her desk. The video played on silent loop Bryce Kellerman in his Letterman jacket, counting $100 bills. The crying freshman couldn't be more than 14, clutching a prescription bottle. The exchange quick, practiced, professional. But the camera also caught 3 other deals in the background. The pharmaceutical enterprise of Westfield High's golden boy, running as smooth as his 4.2 GPA. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Delete it and this ends. Keep it and find out what happened to your mother. The words blurred as her hands started shaking. She screenshotted the message, forwarded it to her father's work phone, then typed back, threatening a federal officer's daughter, smart move, pharmacy boy. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Check your locker. The walk to her locker felt like crossing a minefield. Students parted around her, whispers following like smoke. When she opened the metal door, the smell hit first decay, sweet and stomach-turning. A dead rat, posed with a tiny prescription bottle taped to its paws. Jesus! Someone gasped behind her. Maddie didn't flinch. Couldn't flinch. Not with half the school watching. She pulled out her phone, took photos from 3 angles, then used a plastic bag from her lunch to remove the corpse, dropped it in the nearest trash can, and walked to the bathroom to wash her hands. In the mirror, she looked like her mother. Same stubborn jaw, same dark eyes that wouldn't look away from ugly truths. Rebecca Holloway had died at 38, fighting shadows with subpoenas. Her daughter was 16, fighting them with a smartphone and too much of her mother's courage. The bathroom door swung open. Emma Chen, student body treasurer, former friend before social hierarchies divided them in freshman year. Maddie, Emma's voice was barely a whisper. I need to tell you something. If it's a warning, I've had plenty. No, it's... Emma checked under the stall doors, then pulled out her phone. I was there, in the parking lot. I bought from him, too. The admission hung between them like a confession in church. My mom has lupus, Emma continued, tears starting. The pain meds they prescribe aren't enough, and the insurance fights everything. Bryce said he could help, said his dad's company had samples, overflow inventory. I didn't think, I knew it was wrong. But how many others? Maddie asked. Emma's laugh was bitter. How many kids at this school have sick parents? Anxiety disorders, sports injuries their parents don't know about. He's not just dealing. Maddie, he's got a whole system. Kids with legitimate prescriptions who sell him their extras. Parents who think their kids are taking their meds but aren't. And the money, God, the money these kids have. $300 for a bottle of Adderall during finals week. Would you testify? The color drained from Emma's face. Are you insane? My parents would die. My college applications? Right. Maddie turned back to the mirror. So everyone knows. Everyone's complicit. And I'm the problem for having proof. His dad's company, Phoenix Pharmaceuticals, they're huge. They donate millions to the school, the police foundation, the mayor's campaign. You think your video matters? They'll spin it, say it's fake, out of context. Teenage drama. And then, Emma's voice dropped. Ask Jessica Tran what happens when you cross the Kellermans. What happened to Jessica? Transferred, suddenly, middle of junior year, her family just left. New job for her dad in Seattle, they said. But Jessica told me the truth before she left. She'd refused to write Bryce's English essays anymore. Next thing, her dad's fired. Their lease is terminated. And suddenly, there are rumors about her on every social media platform. Deep fakes, lies about drugs, pregnancy. The works. Maddie's phone buzzed again. This time, a video file. She almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. It was her. Or rather, her face expertly mapped onto someone else's body in a compromising position. The work was sophisticated, almost believable if you didn't look too close. The caption, "This goes live in 2 hours unless you delete the original. Your choice." Emma saw it over her shoulder and gasped. "Oh my God, Maddie, you have to... I have to what? Give in? Let him keep destroying people." Maddie's voice cracked for the first time. "My mom died fighting people like this. You think I'm going to dishonor her memory by backing down to some entitled sociopath with a pill problem?" "Your mom died," Emma said quietly. "That's the point." Third period, AP Chemistry. Maddie sat in the back, her phone recording everything now, every interaction, every threat, every suspicious glance. Paranoid maybe, but as her mother used to say, paranoia is just pattern recognition with stakes. Mrs. Patterson was explaining molecular bonds when the fire alarm went off. Not the scheduled drill, this was sharp, urgent, wrong. Students filed out in practiced lines. But in the chaos, Maddie felt hands on her arms. "Come with us." Marcus Chen, offensive lineman, Bryce's best friend since kindergarten. His grip was iron. "Fire department's going to be busy for a while." She tried to pull away, but Troy Williams had her other arm. 240 pounds of muscle scholarship on each side. Students flowed around them like they were invisible. Because at Westfield High, you learned not to see certain things. "Let go," she said loudly. A few heads turned. "Just want to talk," Marcus said, his smile all teeth. "About mutual friends. Privacy's better. Don't you think?" They were steering her away from the crowd, toward the East Wing, the abandoned section. Closed since water damage 2 winters ago. No cameras there, no witnesses. "If you're thinking of screaming," Troy whispered, "remember that video drops in 90 minutes. Would hate for colleges to see that when they Google you." Maddie let them guide her, her mind racing. Her phone was recording. Location services on. Her dad would see if she went dark. But Jake Holloway was at the training facility 10 miles away, running breach scenarios with his team. By the time he noticed, by the time he arrived, the hallway smelled like mold and forgotten promises. Water stains mapped the ceiling like crime scenes. Their footsteps echoed off locked classroom doors, each one a missed opportunity to run. "You know what I never understood," Marcus said conversationally as they walked. "Why some people can't just mind their business. Like, we're all just trying to get through high school, right? Make our parents proud, get into good colleges, have a little fun. Why make it complicated?" "Ask Bryce," Maddie said. "He's the one who complicated things when he decided to become the Walter White of Westfield." Troy laughed. "Breaking Bad references. You really are a narcs kid." They stopped at a bathroom door, female sign hanging crooked. Caution tape across the entrance from the last failed attempt at renovation. Marcus ripped it away like tissue paper. "After you," he said. The bathroom was a tomb of broken promises. Cracked mirrors reflected distorted images. Stalls without doors gaped like broken teeth. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. Counting down seconds, Maddie couldn't afford to lose. And there, leaning against the far wall like he'd been waiting all day, was Bryce Kellerman. He looked exactly like what he was, 6'2" of inherited privilege and earned arrogance. The kind of handsome that got him out of speeding tickets and into Yale early admission. But his eyes were something else today. Wild. desperate. The look of someone whose carefully constructed world was cracking at the foundations. "Madison," he said, like they were friends, like he hadn't just orchestrated her kidnapping. "We need to resolve this misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. She kept her voice steady, even as Marcus and Troy blocked the exit behind her. "Which part? The drug dealing, the threats, the deep fake porn, or dragging me to an abandoned bathroom like some bad movie?" Bryce pushed off the wall, stepped closer. She could smell his cologne, expensive. Probably worth more than most kids' entire wardrobe. "You know what your problem is. You think you're untouchable because your daddy's a cop. But cops' kids die in accidents all the time. Teenage depression, suicide rates. It's practically an epidemic." The threat hung in the air like a noose. "Is that what you told Jessica Tran?" Maddie asked. His face twitched. Jessica was smart. She understood economics, cost-benefit analysis, the cost of defying me versus the benefit of shutting up and moving on. Simple math. My mom was never good at math. And look where it got her. The rage came so fast, it surprised her. Pure, clean fury that burned through fear like acid. "Say her name. Go on. Say Rebecca Holloway's name and tell me again to how she died." Bryce smiled. The kind of smile that had gotten him elected class president 3 years running. "Your mother died in a tragic accident. Truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. These things happen, especially to people who don't know when to stop digging." The truck driver worked for a shipping company that contracted with Phoenix Pharmaceuticals. The smile flickered. "Conspiracy theories, really, that's beneath you. Madison." "Is it because I've been doing some digging of my own? Amazing what you can find in public records. Shipping manifests, employment histories, insurance claims." She pulled out her phone, held it up. "Want to know what I found?" Troy started forward, but Bryce held up a hand. "You're bluffing. January 15th, 2 years ago, 3 days before my mom died, Phoenix Pharmaceuticals reported a theft from their warehouse. 12 cases of oxycodone, never recovered. The investigating officer's report was 1 paragraph long. Guess whose signature was on the insurance claim? Bryce's father." She didn't have to say it. The way his face changed told her everything. "You're playing a dangerous game," he said quietly. "No," Maddie said. "I'm finishing my mother's game. And you want to know the beautiful part. That video of you dealing, that's just the appetizer. See, when Sofia Martinez gets interested in something, she really commits. Every deleted text, every hidden transaction, every stupid Snapchat you thought disappeared. She's got it all. And right now, it's uploading to servers you'll never find. You're lying. Call my bluff. Go ahead. Kill me in this bathroom. Add murder to your resume. I'm sure Yale will be impressed." The dripping water counted 10 seconds, 20, 30. Then Bryce laughed, soft, almost admiring. "You really are her daughter. Same righteous fury, same blind spot." "What blind spot?" "You think evidence matters. You think justice is real. You think the system works for people like you." He stepped closer, close enough that she could see the desperation under his confidence. "My family owns this town. We own the judges, the police commissioners, the medical board. Your father might wear a badge, but my father signs the checks that fund his department. So tell me, Madison, when push comes to shove, who do you think wins?" She thought of her father that morning, making breakfast in his tactical pants and Phoenix PD polo, the way he still set out 3 plates sometimes, forgetting. The way he checked her location 17 times a day, pretending it was casual. The way he'd taught her to throw a punch, break a hold, scream for help in a way that carried. "I think," she said slowly, "that you're about to find out." His hand moved so fast she barely saw it. Fingers around her throat, slamming her back against the wall. The broken tile cut through her shirt. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't. But muscle memory kicked in. Jake Holloway's daughter knew how to fight. Thumb to the eye, knee to the groin, twist and drop. Except Marcus and Troy were there, grabbing her arms, and Bryce's face was inches from hers, twisted with rage. "Delete it," he hissed. "Delete everything, or I swear to God, her smartwatch." The panic button her father had installed, insisted on, checked every week to make sure it worked. 3 taps against her wrist. Barely a movement. "Can't," she gasped. "Already sent. DEA, FBI. Channel 12 News." "You stupid." His hand tightened. Black spots danced in her vision. This was how it ended. Not in a car accident like her mother, but in a moldy bathroom with boys who thought money made them gods. At least she'd fought. At least she'd... The sound came from nowhere and everywhere. Like thunder. Like judgment. Like the wrath of fathers whose daughters were in danger. The door didn't open. It exploded. 6 tactical officers in full gear, weapons raised, voices booming commands that turned Bryce's arrogance to water. And there, in the center, was Jake Holloway, 6'4" of trained rage and body armor, his eyes finding his daughter's throat, the marks already forming there. The tears she hadn't realized were falling. "Phoenix PD. Hands up now, now." Time slowed. Maddie would remember this moment in fragments, Bryce's fingers releasing her throat. The clatter of bodies hitting the ground. Troy crying. Marcus throwing up. The surreal sight of her father's team, who she'd known since childhood. Uncle Mike and Uncle Carlos and Aunt Janet, transforming from barbecue guests to avenging angels. "Badge cam is on," Jake said, his voice deadly calm as he knelt beside Bryce. "So let me be very clear. You just assaulted a minor, a federal officer's daughter, in the commission of multiple felonies including false imprisonment, attempted destruction of evidence, and what looks like distribution of controlled substances." He leaned closer. "Your father's lawyers must be so proud." "You can't. My dad will—" "Your dad will what?" Jake's smile was terrible. "Call my boss, file a complaint. Sue the department. Please. I'm begging you. Make this federal. Because my daughter has evidence of an interstate drug distribution ring operating out of your daddy's pharmaceutical company. And the DEA is very interested in pretty boys who think they're untouchable." Sirens outside now. Lots of them. The abandoned wing filling with uniforms. Radios crackling. The systematic dismantling of a kingdom built on pills and privilege. Jake finally looked at his daughter. Really looked. Saw the bruises forming. The torn shirt. The strength it was taking her to stay standing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't want to bother you at work." He pulled her into his arms, body armor and all. "Michelle," he said into his radio, "cancel the rest of training. I'm taking my daughter home." "Negative," a female voice responded. "She needs a hospital check and formal statement. This is a crime scene now. Jake." He held her tighter. "Roger that. But I'm riding with her." As they led Bryce past in handcuffs, he tried one last time. "This isn't over. You don't understand what you've done. My family." "Your family," Jake said quietly, "is about to learn what happens when you threaten mine." But it was Maddie who had the last word. Standing there in her father's arms, surrounded by Phoenix PD's finest, she looked Bryce in the eye and said, "My mother died fighting people like you, but she didn't die for nothing. She died so I could finish what she started." The words echoed off broken tile and abandoned dreams, somewhere in the building. Emma Chen was giving a statement. Sophia Martinez was presenting digital evidence. The machine of justice was grinding to life. Slow, but inexorable. And Madison Holloway, 16 years old, motherless but not alone, had just learned the most important lesson of her life. Sometimes the system is broken. Sometimes the bad guys have all the power. Sometimes David stands alone against Goliath. But sometimes, if you're very brave and very lucky, Goliath forgets that David has a father. And sometimes that father runs a SWAT team. The afternoon sun was brutal as they emerged from the building. News vans were already arriving, drawn by social media and scanner traffic. Tomorrow, Westfield High would be famous for all the wrong reasons. The Kellerman pharmaceutical empire would begin its slow collapse, and a 16-year-old girl would become the center of a storm she never asked for. But right now, in this moment, Jake Holloway held his daughter and made the same promise he'd made at her mother's funeral. "Nobody touches my family. Nobody." The promise settled over them like armor, like prophecy, like the kind of love that builds legacies and breaks dynasties. And somewhere in the evidence lockup, 47 seconds of video waited to change everything. The Phoenix courthouse smelled like old paper and broken promises. Madison Holloway sat between her father and Sophia Martinez, watching Assistant District Attorney Rebecca Chase arrange files like she was preparing for war. 3 weeks had passed since the bathroom incident. 3 weeks of death threats, media circuses, and the slow unraveling of the Kellerman empire. "They're offering a plea deal," Rebecca said without looking up. She'd been Rebecca Chase back when Madison's mother was alive. Just another prosecutor in a sea of suits. Now she was the lead ADA, with eyes like flint and a personal stake in this case. Bryce pleads to simple assault, gets probation, community service, no jail time. "No," Madison's voice cut through the conference room. "Absolutely not." Jake squeezed his daughter's shoulder. "Maddie, no, Dad. He threatened to kill me. He's been dealing drugs to kids. She stopped, swallowed. "He knows something about Mom." Rebecca finally looked up. "What do you mean?" Madison pulled out her phone, scrolled to the saved messages. "Look at the threats. He didn't just say I'd have an accident. He said I'd find out what happened to her. Present tense, like it's something that can still be discovered." The room went quiet. Rebecca studied the messages, her expression unreadable. Outside, Phoenix baked under an October sun that didn't know summer was supposed to be over. "The truck driver who killed your mother," Rebecca said slowly, "died 6 months ago. Overdose, fentanyl-laced pills." She paused. "The kind Phoenix Pharmaceuticals supposedly never manufactured." Jake's hand tightened on Madison's shoulder. "You're saying, I'm saying nothing, yet. But if we take this to trial, everything comes out. Every connection, every coincidence, every thread that ties the Kellermans to Rebecca Holloway's death." She looked at Madison. "Are you prepared for that?" Madison thought of her mother, fierce and fearless in her prosecutor's suits. The way she'd tuck Madison in at night, then go back to case files that made her frown. The way she'd said, 3 days before she died, Sometimes doing the right thing makes you enemies. Baby, but that's how you know it's right. I'm prepared, Madison said. The war began with paperwork. Sophia Martinez had been busy. Her laptop contained what she called the Kellerman files, 2 years of deleted texts, hidden transactions, and digital breadcrumbs that painted a picture of systematic corruption. Bryce wasn't just dealing at school. He was a hub in a larger network, connecting desperate kids with pills that fell off trucks from his father's company. "Look at this," Sophia said, pulling up a spreadsheet during one of their prep sessions. Cross-referenced sales with student medical leaves. Know what I found? Every kid who bought from Bryce regularly either dropped out, transferred, or had a medical emergency within 6 months. Emma Chen, who'd found courage in Madison's stand, added her testimony. Then Michael Rodriguez, whose little brother had overdosed on pills traced back to Bryce. Then Ashley Kim, Daniela Thompson, Jerome Williams, a parade of Westfield's walking wounded, all with the same story. Bryce Kellerman had seemed like salvation until he became damnation. But the Kellermans fought back with exactly the weapons Madison expected. The deep fake video surfaced on every platform simultaneously. By the time Jake's tech contacts got it taken down, half of Phoenix had seen Madison's face on someone else's body. The comments were brutal. The harassment immediate. Her Instagram filled with messages so vile she stopped reading them. "Let them," Jake said, holding his daughter as she cried angry tears. "Every threat is evidence. Every post is proof of witness intimidation." But it was harder when the attacks went beyond digital. Madison's car tires slashed in the school lot, the same lot where this all began. Dead animals left at their door. Jake started sleeping with his service weapon closer, started having colleagues drive by at odd hours. The breaking point came when Principal Thompson called Madison to his office. "I'm afraid," he said, not meeting her eyes, "that given the disruption to our learning environment, it might be best if you considered alternative education options." Madison stared at him. Derek Thompson, who'd spoken at her mother's funeral about integrity and standing up for what's right. "You're expelling me for being assaulted, not expelling, suggesting for your own safety." He fidgeted with his tie. "The board feels—" "How much?" Madison interrupted. "Excuse me. How much did Kellerman Sr. pay you, or was it just promises donations for the new gym? Scholarship funds?" She leaned forward. "Or did they threaten you too?" His face crumpled like wet paper. For a moment, she saw not the principal, but a 58-year-old man with a mortgage and kids in college and 1,000 compromises that had led to this moment. "There's a file," he whispered. "In my safe. Emails. Records of transactions. If something happens to me, nothing will happen to you if you do the right thing now." He laughed, bitter and broken. "You really are her daughter. Rebecca said the same thing." Right before he stopped. "Get the file to your lawyer. But I can't protect you anymore. None of us can." That night, Madison found her father in the garage, working on his motorcycle, his therapy, his meditation, his way of making sense of a world where he could save strangers, but couldn't save his wife. "We could leave," he said without looking up. "Transfer to Tucson, Flagstaff. Start over." "Is that what Mom would do?" His hands stilled on the engine. "Your mom would have burned the whole system down and danced in the ashes." "Then you know my answer." He turned to face her, and she saw the war in his eyes, the father who wanted to protect her. The cop who knew justice demanded sacrifice. The widower who'd already paid too high a price. "They killed her, didn't they?" Madison asked. "The Kellermans, Phoenix Pharmaceuticals, all of them." Jake pulled her into his arms, and his silence was answer enough. The trial became Phoenix's obsession. Every day, crowds gathered outside the courthouse. Team Madison versus Team Bryce. As if justice was a sport. The media played up every angle: the cop's daughter versus the pharmaceutical prince. The war on drugs played out in a high school bathroom. But inside courtroom 4B, Judge Patricia Hernandez ran a tight ship. No cameras, no outbursts, just the slow machinery of justice grinding forward. The prosecution's case was devastating. Rebecca Chase had learned from the best Madison's mother, and she used every lesson. The video evidence, the digital trails Sophia had uncovered, the testimony of 17 students who'd bought from Bryce, the medical records of 6 who'd overdosed, and then the bombshell. The prosecution calls Derek Thompson. The principal looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 months. But his voice was steady as he laid out 5 years of Kellerman influence, donations that came with suggestions, board positions that required certain votes. And yes, pressure to make problems disappear when they involved certain students. "Including Madison Holloway?" Rebecca asked. "No," Thompson straightened. Her mother, 2 years ago, Rebecca Holloway, submitted a formal complaint about suspected drug activity at Westfield. She had evidence, names. The board told me to lose it. "And did you—" "I gave it to her instead. Told her to be careful." His voice cracked. 3 days later, she was dead. The courtroom erupted. Judge Hernandez's gavel cracked like gunshot. But the damage was done. The connection was made. The ghost of Rebecca Holloway had entered the courtroom, and she was testifying from beyond the grave. Bryce's defense came down to privilege wrapped in legal theory. His lawyers, a team that cost more than most people's houses, painted him as a troubled young man led astray. The pressure of perfection. The availability of pills in his father's world. A cry for help that went too far. "And what about the assault?" Rebecca asked during cross-examination. Bryce, coached to perfection, looked contrite. "I was scared. I made a mistake. I never meant to hurt Madison. You had your hands around her throat. I was trying to talk to her. By choking her. I was emotional. My whole future was at stake." Madison watched from the gallery, her father's hand in hers, and marveled at how someone could lie so smoothly. But then she caught Bryce's eye, and for just a moment, the mask slipped. The rage was still there, banked but burning. The verdict came on a Thursday afternoon when the desert sky was the color of dried blood. On the count of assault in the second degree, guilty. On the count of distribution of controlled substances, guilty. On the count of criminal threatening, guilty. One by one. The convictions stacked up like the pills Bryce had sold. His mother sobbed. His father sat stone-faced, already calculating appeals. But Bryce himself just stared at Madison, and in his eyes she saw not defeat, but promise. This isn't over. Sentencing came 2 weeks later, 5 to 8 years, with possibility of parole in 3. The crowd outside cheered or cursed, depending on their signs. But Madison felt empty. It wasn't enough. Not for her mother, not for all the kids Bryce had hurt. "It's not justice," she told her father as they left the courthouse. "No," Jake agreed. "But it's a start." The civil suit was quieter but more brutal. Phoenix Pharmaceuticals' lawyers descended like locusts, trying to separate the son's crimes from the father's company. But Rebecca Chase had done her homework. The missing inventory, the suspicious shipping records, the statistical impossibility of so many pills falling off trucks and ending up in Bryce's hands. 3 months later, they settled $2.5 million with a non-disclosure agreement that Madison refused to sign. "I want them to pay publicly," she told the lawyers. "I want everyone to know what they did." In the end, they compromised. The settlement was public, the amount private, until Madison turned 18. But she could use the money as she saw fit, and she knew exactly what her mother would want. Phoenix Youth Legal Aid opened 6 months after the verdict, in a small office between a taco shop and a tax preparer. Madison, now 17, cut the ribbon while her father and Sophia and 50 kids from Westfield watched. Emma Chen was there, clean for 4 months. Michael Rodriguez brought his little brother, alive because someone had finally stopped the pipeline. "My mom believed in justice," Madison said, her voice carrying over the crowd. "Not the kind you buy or trade or negotiate. The real kind. The kind that says every kid deserves protection, regardless of their parents' bank account. The kind that says no one is untouchable." She looked at the camera, knowing Bryce would see this from his cell, knowing the Kellermans would watch from their emptier mansion. This isn't about revenge. It's about the next kid who films something they shouldn't see, the next parent who asks too many questions, the next person who stands up and says, "Enough." They'll have somewhere to turn now. They'll have lawyers who can't be bought. They'll have protection that doesn't depend on privilege. The first case came within a week. Ashley Rodriguez, 14, needed help after reporting her dealer another Westfield student picking up where Bryce left off. Phoenix Youth Legal Aid took the case pro bono, won it in 3 months. The second case, the 5th, the 20th, each victory a small redemption, a tiny balance against the weight of loss. Jake watched his daughter transform from victim to advocate, from his little girl to her mother's legacy. She graduated early, started pre-law at Arizona State, ran the organization between classes. The Bryce incident had made her famous, but the work made her formidable. And sometimes, late at night, when the desert wind howled like grief, Madison would find her father in the garage, working on his motorcycle, and they'd share the comfortable silence of survivors. "Think she'd be proud?" Madison asked one night, 3 years after it all began. Jake looked at his daughter, 19 now, fierce and fearless, carrying her mother's torch with her own flame. She'd be amazed, and probably worried sick. Madison laughed. She'd have solved it faster, wouldn't have needed SWAT to save her. "Maybe," Jake wiped his hands, studied his daughter. "But she'd have been damn proud that you fought back, that you didn't let them win." "They didn't win," Madison said, "but they didn't really lose either. Bryce gets out next year. Early release, good behavior. His dad's company paid a fine that barely dented their profits. The system still protects them. But now it protects others too, because of you." He pulled her into a hug. "Your mom always said the system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed. The trick was to redesign it, one case at a time." Madison thought of all the kids Phoenix Youth Legal Aid had helped. The dealers they'd stopped, the victims they'd protected, the small dent they'd made in a massive wall of privilege and power. "One case at a time," she repeated, Outside, Phoenix glittered like broken glass, beautiful and sharp. Somewhere in the city, another kid was facing another bully with another camera. Somewhere, another parent was asking dangerous questions. Somewhere, another David was picking up stones. And in a small office between a taco shop and a tax preparer, Phoenix Youth Legal Aid kept its lights on late, ready for the call. Because Madison Holloway had learned the most important lesson of all. You can't always get justice, but you can become it. The video that started everything still existed, backed up in evidence lockers and encrypted files. 47 seconds that changed a life, ended an empire, began a mission, proof that sometimes the smallest moments carry the weight of worlds, and sometimes a 16-year-old girl with her mother's courage and her father's protection can flip more than just a bully in a bathroom. Sometimes she can flip the whole damn system, even if it takes a lifetime, even if it's one case at a time. Years later, when reporters asked Madison how she found the courage to stand up to Bryce Kellerman, she'd think of that September morning when her phone caught 47 seconds of a crime. She'd remember her mother's voice, reading bedtime stories about brave knights and clever princesses who saved themselves. She'd recall her father's hands, steady on her shoulders in that courthouse hallway, anchoring her to earth when she wanted to fly apart. Courage isn't the absence of fear, she'd tell them, sitting in her office where young voices called seeking justice. It's filming the video anyway. It's refusing to delete it. It's standing up even when your knees shake. And somewhere in Phoenix, another phone was recording another injustice, another teenager deciding whether to stay silent or speak truth. The cycle continued. The work went on. Justice, one video at a time.